everyone, it's me, and today, Starbucks coffee. Let's rock it up with some pumpkin spice together. Starbucks, now brewing.
Hear ye, hear ye! Pumpkin spice season has officially commenced. The line forms here.
Wow, it's October and pumpkin spice season is only starting now? Gotta admit, I'm kind of pleasantly surprised here. Figured Starbucks would have started back in August or something.
You know this is the line for next year's pumpkin spice latte, right?
Bro, this year's pumpkin spice season already ended.
It did?
Yeah, like 2 years ago. Honestly, try to keep up, dude.
Okay, it's a bit slow. Wait, it's a bit fast. Interesting. Food theory.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Food Theory.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Food Theory. Food Theory. Hi.
The culinary show that's not just good for your stomach, it's good for your gourd. There's nothing quite like autumn, is there? The leaves change, the weather gets cooler, and Americans line up to purchase, or to hate on, Starbucks' most popular seasonal drink of all time, the pumpkin spice latte.
Stop for a moment first. I'm from Singapore. We do not have the 4 seasons in Singapore. I'm sorry, I couldn't relate. Sorry. In Singapore, there is sunny day, rainy day. Yeah, there's no summer, autumn, winter, spring. It's spring, summer, autumn, winter. Yeah, we don't have that. Sorry.
Now, if you've never experienced a pumpkin spice season stateside, what I need you to understand is that today's episode isn't just about some excessively sugary autumn-themed drink. We're beyond that now. The pumpkin spice latte has become a force in and of itself. Since 2003, Starbucks has sold 424 million of the lattes in the US alone.
Yes, you must remember, 2003. Right now it's in the year 2022. Nearly 2 decades. 2 decades.
Not too bad for a drink that's only available for a couple months out of the year. But the sales alone aren't what make the pumpkin spice latte trend so remarkable. It's the cultural impact of it all.
But case in point, I'm from Singapore. I do not understand this cultural effect. I'm sorry, I couldn't relate to this video. Sorry. Because there is literally no autumn in Singapore. My bad. Singapore is located near the equator of the planet Earth.
Because it's not just Starbucks who's doing pumpkin spice anymore. It is everyone. When Starbucks first launched this drink, they didn't realize it, but they created a food revolution. Now, every fall, Americans are inundated with pumpkin spice coffee creamers, and candles, and donuts, and cream cheese, and waffle mixes, and toothpastes, and Four Locos. Alright, so that last one actually turned out to be a joke, but you know what? It's not a very good joke, because if I saw a pumpkin spice Four Loko on the shelf, I wouldn't even bat an eye. See, pumpkin spice is more than a meme. It's no fad either, not anymore. Pumpkin spice is old enough to drive people. Over its 17-year reign, pumpkin spice has seen the rise and fall of T-bowing, fidget spinners, Tide Pods, and the word YOLO. Every single one of those fads had a meteoric rise in popularity, at which point the haters swooped in and swiftly reminded us exactly how uncool each of these things actually were. And pumpkin spice knows all about this because never in the history of hating has the internet tried to kill something so hard. To pumpkin spice haters, the PSL, as it's referred to in so many hashtags, represents everything that's wrong with the holiday season in America.
Oh, PSL. I was thinking about what is PSL? Pumpkin spice lovers. Oh.
Not only was there no actual pumpkin in the thing until 2015, but there's a sense that ordering a pumpkin spice latte is to openly embrace consumerism and hop aboard whatever's generally trendy at the moment, aka ya basic. And yet, despite their best efforts, the haters have definitely lost this battle. Fidget spinners couldn't handle the hate and promptly spun off into obscurity. YOLO did indeed only live once, and not for very long. But as for the pumpkin spice latte, its popularity, especially in the US, has done nothing but climb steadily throughout it all.
Case in point, I'm from Singapore. My deepest apologies. I don't relate to this pumpkin spice. I'm sorry.
Year after year after year. Apparently these so-called basic pumpkin spice lovers don't really care what the haters have to say. They like what they like, and they are not ashamed to admit it.
I haven't had a Starbucks one in so long. Literally since like last fall. Ugh, it's so good.
It's amazing. I'm addicted. When it's cold outside, it gives you a sense of warmth. It's almost Thanksgiving. It's Christmas time. It feels good.
This is the perfect just coffee where you just go.
Yeah, exactly.
And Hocus Pocus is on the Disney Channel.
Yay.
It would seem then that the pumpkin spice latte just makes people feel good. It evokes the nostalgia of coziness and holidays with family. And hey, the grande has 380 calories, so...
And case in point, I must remind you again, your nostalgia feeling moments, I don't know what you're talking about, because in Singapore there's no 4 seasons in Singapore. There's no autumn, so I'm sorry. Sorry, I couldn't relate to it.
So it doesn't necessarily take a psychologist
Oh wait, I can relate to it from a third party point of view who can't relate to it. Ah!
to understand the appeal. At the end of the day, this thing is just a drink that tastes like candy. On the other hand, maybe the psychologists can be of use here. I mean, there are a lot of delicious, staggeringly unhealthy drinks out there, and none of them have managed to weave themselves into the fabric of pop culture quite like the pumpkin spice latte has. So what we're gonna look at today is how Starbucks did it. How did they develop a product so comforting, so nostalgia-inducing that it became completely and utterly hater-proof? Turns out there's a lot of science going on under the hood. The PSL's runaway success can be attributed to the fact that Starbucks has figured out how to hack pretty much every major region of our brains with just one little product. It all begins with the concept of scarcity, where people place higher value on things that aren't in abundance. For instance, Mr. Beast's fans can buy merch anytime they want to, but the moment that he announces that he's gonna personally sign every hoodie or shirt ordered within a 24-hour window, his fans turn out in droves and purchase over 68,000 of them. And that exact same concept applies to seasonal drinks like the pumpkin spice latte. It too is a special product that's available for only a specific window of time, usually late August to December. So when the PSL ads start coming out, customers know that if they want something with pumpkin spice in it, they have to get it now, otherwise they're gonna have to wait until next year. And this is the first way that the pumpkin spice latte hacks your brain. See, a scarcity mindset increases activity in the customer's orbitofrontal cortex region of the brain.
The more you know, there's something called the scarcity mindset effect and the orbitofrontal cortex of the brain,
which is involved in attributing value to things.
that attributes value, money, and cost, and price, and what it's worth, so on and so forth.
Scarcity mindset also decreases activity in the customer's dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is involved in higher order goals, working memory, and attention allocation.
Let me try this first. Dorsolateral prefrontal cortex in your brain that helps with higher order goals, working memory, attention allocation.
Basically, a customer's scarcity mindset makes them inflate their perceived value of an item, while their ability to see the bigger picture gets simultaneously depleted. In other words, they're more susceptible to marketing. Now, is Starbucks doing this intentionally? 100% yes, they are. Remember, the original PSL syrup had no real pumpkin in it. It's not like we're dealing with a product that relies on seasonal produce here, friends. The supposed scarcity of the pumpkin spice latte is completely artificial as the latte's pumpkin flavoring was for the first decade of its existence. Ching, nailed you, pumpkin spice latte syrup.
That bottle of
That burned!
pumpkin-flavoured science goo sits behind the counter of Starbucks all year round, never aging like Ryan Seacrest.
The increased perceived value of a seasonal...
Oh my god, I just love that MacPad included Mr. Beast, John Oliver references. It's just awesome.
drink like the pumpkin spice latte makes it a status symbol of sorts, an item worthy of being shared, talked about, and hashtagged online. And when people see their peers participating in an event or trend without them, that's when FOMO, the fear of missing out, starts to creep in. And what we call FOMO today is essentially the same survival instinct that's always made our species afraid to be left out of the herd.
FOMO. Fear of missing out.
According to clinical psychologist Anita Sands, quote, getting the impression that one is not part of the in-group is enough for many individuals' amygdalas to engage the stress or activation response, the fight or flight response.
Something like kiasu. Oh, I'm sorry. In Singapore local terms lah.
End quote. Naturally, one way to rid yourself of that stress is to join the herd. And today, enough Americans have joined the herd that seasonal drinks like the pumpkin spice latte and peppermint mocha are household terms. But there's obviously something else about the pumpkin spice latte that the other seasonal drinks don't have. Otherwise, John Oliver would be ranting about chestnut praline season or frappuccino season, or, like I just said, the peppermint mocha season. What is the secret ingredient inside of that pumpkin spice latte? Well, a key difference is the season itself. Autumn, and all the nostalgia that comes with it.
Case in point, I couldn't relate to it because there is no autumn in Singapore, there's no fall in Singapore, there's no 4 seasons in Singapore. We experience sun and rain and night time, which is quite often. Okay, so case in point, there's no spring, there's no summer, there's no autumn, there's no winter in Singapore. I am sorry that it can't relate. My deepest apologies. Sorry. The nostalgia feeling, not for me, my bad.
Nostalgia activates a number of areas in the brain, including a slew of reward centers like the hippocampus, the substantia nigra, the ventral tegmental area, and the ventral striatum.
Let me try pronouncing all this. Okay, hippocampus of your brain, substantia nigra in your brain, ventral tegmental tegmental area of your brain, ventral striatum in your brain. The more you know.
Americans, autumn is an especially social time of the year. Fall always reminds me of trick-or-treating, returning to school, the fall theater production, tailgating during football season, being a singing football vendor, selling popcorn in the stands. I was shameless. But
Yep, and case in point, I cannot relate. I am very sorry, but all these mentions that you mentioned, like DK what you mean. I don't know what you mean, sorry. I can just like, wow. Oh, that's great. Oh, wonderful. That's great, that's great. Continue.
of course, one of the biggest events of the fall, Thanksgiving dinner with the family. Autumn has no shortage of great moments to wax nostalgic about, which means autumn has no shortage of ways to activate the reward centers in your brain. Now, of course, a lot of this could apply to the December holidays just as easily. Christmas is an extremely nostalgic time of the year for many of us, so why isn't the peppermint mocha or the eggnog latte sitting atop the pedestal as Starbucks' best-selling seasonal latte of all time?
Also, Christmas does not relate to me because in Singapore there's no winter, so sorry, I couldn't relate. There's no winter in Singapore as well.
Well, one big reason is that Starbucks' slate of December holiday drinks effectively cannibalized each other in popularity. In 2003, if you wanted a seasonal autumn drink from Starbucks, pumpkin spice latte, only way to go. If you wanted a seasonal drink around Christmas time though, you had multiple hit drinks to choose from. Because the pumpkin spice latte essentially had the entire market to itself, it was able to spread its wings and really make a cultural impact, just in time for the rise of social media and FOMO, as fate would have it. Another reason though could be the execution. Starbucks put a whole lot of research and development into making sure the pumpkin spice latte recipe hit our taste buds and brains just the right way. In the spring of 2003, Starbucks' Liquid Lab was tasked with capturing the essence of fall in a drink.
They actually have a liquid lab.
After taking a slew of autumnal concepts out to customers, they found that the chocolate and caramel flavors rated highest, whereas pumpkin flavor was in the middle of the pack. Nevertheless, Liquid Lab's director of espresso, which has just gotta be like one of the best job titles of all time, Peter Dukes, went ahead and made pumpkin one of the 4 flavors that moved on to the prototype phase, since, quote, there wasn't anything around pumpkin at the time. And so Starbucks' pumpkin latte prototype went head to head against a chocolate caramel drink, an orange and spice latte, and a cinnamon streusel latte, which would go on to become the cinnamon dolce latte a few years later. But what pumpkin had going for it was American tradition. Pumpkin is a New World gourd that's been a part of the American table since day one. So knowing this, Liquid Labs zeroed in on a blend of spices utilized in the traditional pumpkin spice cake recipe, which appeared in a 1936 cookbook, using nutmeg, allspice, cinnamon cloves, and ginger. And this
1936. That was before World War II, right? That was before World War II. That is nearly a century ago. Nearly a century ago, eh? Nearly a century ago. That's 84, 85
This
years?
particular spice blend, which had been in
86?
the American tradition for generations, would prove to be a nostalgia-inducing gold mine. You see, scent is the strongest sense linked to memory. The olfactory bulb is the first place that smell information is processed in the brain, and from there, it sends the info along for further processing to other regions of the brain, which happen to be the old friends that we met earlier this episode. Information is sent for further processing in the amygdala, which associates smells with emotion. Info is also passed along to the hippocampus, which contributes to the formation of episodic memory, memories that occur at a particular place and time. Info also
Let me try to pronounce these words. Dala and hippocampus.
also gets passed along to the orbitofrontal cortex, which associates odor and taste. If you've ever taken a bite out of an old family recipe and thought back to the summer that you spent with your grandparents, that's exactly what's going on here.
Case in point, I couldn't relate to it because in Singapore there's no summer. My bad.
So, as you can imagine, a drink that is so much about aromatic spice smells is primed to light up all those parts of the brain and activate a wave of
orbitofrontal cortex.
positive emotion and nostalgic memories. And Starbucks knows it. As the story goes, the Liquid Lab team brought in their own homemade pumpkin pies from family recipes. They then alternated between bites of pie and sips of latte back and forth until they slowly honed in on the perfect flavor profile for the drink that they hoped would encapsulate autumn, which is funny since the PSL is about as unnatural of a drink as you can get. Today, only about 5 to 10% of the spices in a pumpkin spice latte latte are real. The rest are flavor compounds that mimic the spices that you'd typically find in the American cupboard. In all, there are about 340 flavor compounds in the pumpkin spice latte. Even Starbucks' inclusion of real pumpkin should be taken with a grain of salt. According to food organization IFT, quote, the amount of pumpkin puree added does very little other than appease those who wanted to see real pumpkin on the list of ingredients. But here's the real twist, friends. Not only does the PSL activate our FOMO, decrease our ability to think rationally, increase its own perceived value, and then hit us with scents that heavily activate positive seasonal memories, targeting nearly every
The last part I couldn't relate, I'm sorry. The last part I couldn't relate because there is no memories. I couldn't relate. Yeah, sorry.
major part of the brain. It also does one last thing that I think is just hilarious. It doesn't taste like coffee. As the story goes, when the flavor testers finally settled on a proper pumpkin spice formula, some of the higher ups at the company were worried that it covered up the taste of the beans. As Tim Kern, founder and former executive at Starbucks, admits, quote, a number of us thought it was a beverage so dominated by a flavor other than coffee that it didn't put Starbucks' coffee in the best light. And
yeah, that's gonna be very weird, very awkward, and ironic.
And that to me is the best twist of all, because the pumpkin spice latte formulation eliminates the one last thing that holds back most other Starbucks drinks, and that is the coffee itself. I don't know if you've ever had a conversation with someone about this, but I know multiple people who don't like Starbucks coffee because they say it's too strong or too burnt tasting. And while that's my anecdotal evidence, they're not alone in that assessment.
If I asked all of you what you want in a coffee, every one of you would say, I want a dark, rich, hearty roast. What percentage of you actually like a dark, rich, hearty roast? Somewhere between 25 and 27%. Most of you like milky, weak coffee. But you will never ever say to someone who asks you what you want that I want a milky, weak coffee.
You see, coffee is a weird drink because it's bitter, and bitterness is something that we humans have been evolutionarily primed against since the caveman days, because it served as a defensive mechanism preventing us from eating poisonous food. And yet, as the theory goes, coffee gets around that aversion because of conditioning. Our brains are getting rewarded by the hit of caffeine when we take a sip of coffee, so we can
Yes, it's kind of conditioning. This sort of like, I trained you, I practiced you through time, a long period of durations in which you start to like this kind of strong bitterness.
Condition ourselves to be okay with this taste that we would otherwise be actively trying to avoid. But what if you had all the positive effects of caffeine and none of the bitterness?
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of the team. Everything is awesome when you're living a dream. Yeah.
Well, that, my friends, is a drink that'll sell millions. And that is the pumpkin spice latte, which means, in a delightfully ironic twist, the most popular coffee drinks at Starbucks would be the ones that taste the least like coffee. And I think Starbucks has figured it out at this point. For an example, let's go international. In Japan, they've released Christmas strawberry cake milk, which incorporates the flavors of one of Japan's favorite Christmas desserts. The Japanese love their whipped cream and strawberry-topped sponge cake so much that they even have an emoji for it. And Starbucks went all in on matching the flavor to the point that it includes no coffee, just white mocha syrup. In China, Starbucks is wisely hopping on the cheese trend that's sweeping Southeast Asia. Heard me right, I said cheese trend. Cheese isn't a traditional part of the Chinese diet, but cheesy drinks have become all the rage in the region in recent years.
I'm not sure if you know, right? That is 流行, meaning in trend, hype. Yeah, I can read the words.
Starbucks is doing its part to fan the
Wait, I'm not sorry, I can read the words.
flames with their snowy cheese latte, which sounds super weird, but then again, so is putting a bland orange gourd into coffee. But regardless of which of these take off or not, I think what we've all learned today is that the most important ingredients aren't necessarily the ones hitting our taste buds, it's the ones hitting our brains. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. Hey, if you like this episode, make sure you check out our other episode on coffee and how it changed the course of human history. Not gonna learn about this one in your history books, or, you know, you can just subscribe. Make sure that you never miss another episode again, ever. We're like the weak, milky coffee of YouTube.
And ring the notification bell as well. Thank you so much.
Not one of those flashy, bold cups, but generally well-liked by everyone. So take a swig and subscribe. It's good for your brain.
Thank you. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope you find this video very interesting to watch. It's quite unique and special, isn't it? If you do like this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And comment down below if you have anything to share with us. Don't forget to follow my channel. And I sincerely appreciate all of her support and encouragement from our work. It's very motivating. uplifting, encouraging. Thank you all so much for your support. You're the best, and I hope to see you all in my next video. But hey, that's just a theory. Sorry. One more time. But hey, that's just a theory. A food theory. Bon appetit. Thank you. And I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye bye. Thank you. Subscribe.